All right, everybody. It is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. We welcome y'all to the He Said, She Said Sports Talk Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Big Red, and this is Tony. What's up, Tony? How are
Good
you?
morning.
Yes,
We're
it's
doing
good
this
morning.
early on a Tuesday
Yeah,
morning today.
yeah, we did it
Wanted to
early
get
today.
you the recap of the men's national championship game, which took place
Yes,
at 9 o'clock on a Monday
on a
night.
Monday night.
What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
I mean, I never understood it because it's like, man, the young kids want to watch it too, and sometimes they got to go to bed. They're not able to stay up as late, or they got to sneak and watch it now with the phones and stuff. So it's just like, it's a late start. They need to move it up some. At least 9 o'clock is crazy. 8 o'clock, okay, even 8 o'clock is kind of pushing it, but like, a 6 o'clock tip off, would be nice for sure. But no, definitely that's here nor there. But no, last night obviously was the men's national championship game between Florida and Houston.
hmm
Florida ended up pulling that out in the end, 65-63, in a tough game defensively for both teams. But Houston kind of let it go at the grips at the end. What's your take? How you feel about the game last night?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just to brag a little bit, I did have that
Yeah,
prediction
you
correct.
did pick. Yeah, no, you had it.
Yeah, if
You
you go
picked it.
back to our original bracketology podcast episode where we broke down the entire tournament, I
Uh-huh.
did say that I had Houston beating Duke. I think last week we got that a little bit incorrect.
Uh-huh.
I think you said that I also had Duke and I did not. I had
Yeah.
Houston. So I predicted the final four correctly with all four one seeds,
Mm-hmm.
and I did also predict the national championship correctly. I didn't quite think it would come down to the wire like that.
Yeah.
So glad it did. It was such an exciting game. It captivated me the entire second half. And I will say, it's interesting because I think because the defense was so good, the offenses of both teams looked so bad an entire second half.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like both teams were causing the other to be sloppy, force turnovers. So it
Hmm.
was definitely a defensive battle, even though Florida definitely values its offensive production a little bit more than its defensive. I've
Yeah.
been saying all week, Florida is an elite offensive team and a top 10 defensive team, whereas Houston is an elite defensive team and a top 10 offensive team. And I think the tournament MVP Walter Clayton Jr., or the Final Four MVP, excuse
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely came alive in the second half, as he did the past few games. He came alive in the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight,
Hmm.
the Final Four, and then he did it again. His second half production in this tournament is something to be commended because he performs when the game is on the line. He shows up for his team. And exactly what I said about Florida when they beat Texas Tech, that 18-4 run. I said
Uh-huh.
Florida is the team that I'm picking to win because they are a team that can be down, not quit, go on a run, and come out with a win. That's some kind of dedication. That's the
Yeah.
grit of that
They
team.
definitely got some kind of grit where it's just like the bend don't break for sure. You could just tell in the game last night that, Houston was letting them stick around, because
Yeah.
Houston really had a chokehold on them offensively in the first half. I mean, those guys couldn't hit a shot. I
Yeah, they
don't
had a
think,
12-point lead at
yeah,
one point. The
yeah.
defense
And
was stifling.
yeah, but the thing about Houston was their offense couldn't get going. It was like they went on that run, but then they turn around and let Florida go on a run, to get it back close. And once you let them get it back close, then that's when Walter just starts doing things and hitting shots or making assists. He had about 7 or 8 assists in last night's game too. But yeah, no, he'll start hitting shots. He hit a big three to tie it up at 60 at the end too. With like less than a minute left, I think it was. But yeah, it was like Houston just fell off the map. They couldn't hit a shot for a while, and it allowed Florida to get back in the game. And obviously, you can't allow them to get back in the game because they got guys who hit big shots and make big plays. That
Yeah.
play at the end that was a bad play at the end too, where the guy threw the ball up and he had to drop it. That
Right,
was
right. So listen, I think a lot of people are talking online about that. What that you have to understand though is he knew he was gonna get blocked.
yeah, he definitely knew that.
Right play there was maybe to try to draw the foul,
Wow,
get
that's
to
what
the
I would say.
line.
Yeah. Hmm.
But he knew he was going to get blocked, and he made a split-second decision about how he was going to try to handle that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it is going to haunt him. But throwing the ball in the air, I don't necessarily think was so wrong, like some people are saying. You got to no ball a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And that he made one of two decisions that you probably could have made. And I think any other situation, that's the right play.
Yeah.
No time left on the
Time
clock.
left on the clock.
You
Yeah.
can't throw it up in there and hope somebody's going to get there and be able to chuck it up. You got to try
Hmm.
to get the foul call. And yeah, unfortunately, just the wrong decision. But
Yeah, no, definitely. It was a good play by Walter, for sure. He in the interview afterwards, he said he knew he was going to try to take that shot right there, so he kind of beat him to the punch, which was a great defensive play.
again, a
Uh,
defensively led game. This game was won and lost on the defense. Houston was up
hmm
12 because their defense was absolutely crippling to the Florida offense. They did a great job on the interior all throughout the first half and a good chunk of the second half as well. They really limited those big points and
Yeah.
they were great guarding the three ball. They were just all around phenomenal defensively.
hmm
But they couldn't get their scoring going enough to run away with it.
Yeah. It was only like I want to say it was maybe like one person on Houston that was in double figures. They didn't have somebody who had kind of had that, maybe an off player that kind of had that night for them, like Florida had with the Richard player. Richard, he was hitting big threes in the first half to keep Florida like in it. When Clayton and them guys weren't hitting. I think between both teams missed the first 14 threes
Yeah,
each.
yeah, that
Nobody
was
hit. Yeah, it was just bad. So, but Richard started hitting threes, and it was keeping Florida around, which was huge. For the second half. So,
yeah.
um,
Yeah, I think honestly, I don't think it was a bad. I don't think that anybody was shooting badly. I think
it was, yeah,
were
defensively.
forcing bad shots. And then
Hmm.
as we got closer into the second half, what ended up happening is the offense started to look sloppy because guys are making bad decisions trying to avoid the defense. So
Yeah.
again, just a phenomenal defensive performance from both teams. And what
Hmm.
I love about these two teams is they are not NIL driven teams. I find that so interesting. Houston
Yeah.
has been a build from within team. Coach Sampson is a very traditional guy, and Florida and their
Shout
advanced
out to Coach Sampson.
analytics, yeah, their advanced analytics and this wild program that they've concocted of finding these under the radar players like Walter
Hmm.
Clayton Jr. And the majority of their starting five, they find people from the portal and international players and from this very specifically concocted analytic formula that they have and an
Yeah.
eye test and a visit and they place a lot of value on that visit as well. So just very interesting the way that they are kind of modernizing the way to
Hmm.
build a roster, whereas Houston was very, very traditional in how they build their roster. But
Yeah.
neither team was a money grabbing, NIL led, pay to
Yeah.
play.
They're just coaches getting the right players and putting them in the right position. Definitely, for sure. Florida's coach has only been there for 3 years. And
Yeah.
he put his team together, and whether it was in the portal or however, but like you said, it wasn't no big money grab players. It wasn't never nothing about the money, which I like that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I like that. So if players are hungry, they want to win because they want to win. And it's not about, hey, where am I going to get the most money? It's
Right.
about
I
where I'm
love
gonna
that
have
it's
the
about winning. Yeah.
yeah. It's about where I'm gonna have the best chance to play and playing for a coach that's going to help us try to get to the next level and win, which he did that in 3 years for Florida, which them winning this obviously is going to help his recruiting as well. So
Oh, yeah.
there for the future. So, I mean, Florida's in a good spot. you kind of figure the SEC team was going to win it with them having so many in there.
I told you they've been in so many tight games. They had so much competition to face this year. They were ready for it. And I think exactly what I said about Duke is why Duke lost that game. We can briefly touch on the Final Four matchups. I know that's a little bit
Yeah,
out,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but Duke lost a close game at the end.
At
They
the
had
end,
it in
yeah.
the bag and they couldn't get over the hump just because I don't think that they've been in those kinds of games.
And also too to touch on the Duke, it was like, you know, everybody was waiting around for, like at the end of the game when Houston was bringing it close, it was just like, Duke's offense just fell off. They weren't doing what they were normally doing. It was just like they were giving it to Cooper Flag and just like, here, get us some points,
Well,
you know.
exactly. As the game got closer and as Houston was able to make a run at it and make it uncomfortable for Duke,
They definitely
Duke
made it
got
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable
Yeah, they
and they
definitely.
fell out of their rhythm and they didn't know what to do. And then I do feel bad for Cooper Flag. I mean, this is an 18-year-old kid that has the world on his back
Hmm.
as, the best player in college basketball and the future face of the NBA and and whatever. This is an 18-year-old kid. He had to hit a
Yeah.
clutch shot at the end and he couldn't do it, and is that gonna haunt him? Is he gonna go to the NBA or is he gonna try to run it back? I
What
still
do you, what you
think he's
what you
gonna go to
think?
the NBA and make
You
some
think he?
fucking money.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know. I mean, he's going to be a great player in the NBA, but I don't know if he's the face of the NBA. That might be a little too much for
They're
him.
still looking for one though. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, they're still
So
looking for one because
they're putting the
LeBron.
pressure on an 18-year-old kid to, come into
Hmm.
the league, be clutch already. I would love to see him have another year in college and
Me too.
develop and become a
That's what I was
clutch
going to say.
player everybody relies on because he's going to go to an NBA team that needs that.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't want to see him fail.
yeah, I would want him to stay too. What's crazy is one of the guys for Rutgers, Ace Bailey. I heard he decided to stay another year, and he was like a top three lottery pick in the draft too. So it was exciting to see, and then like I said, with NIL, it makes it a lot easier, for the
Definitely makes it easier. Those top 10 guys, though, they are going to make way more in the
more money,
NBA than
yeah,
they
for
do in
sure.
NIL.
So for him
But
to come back, I respect it though, because he wants to come back, and develop his game some more. Maybe it's something, or maybe he wants to go for a ring. Some people, some guys just want to win too. I don't know what it is, but shout
but
out to Ace Bailey for deciding to stay another year.
I
Definitely.
do think it's something to, there's something to be said about the fact that, the women's college basketball players, they have to be there for several years. That you got to either
Hmm.
graduate or be 22 to
I
enter
think that's going to
grad.
change for the women's though. Soon it has to. I think.
I hope it doesn't. I love the development that happens and the fact that they go into the league so prepared. Same thing with
Hmm.
football too. I feel like by the time we get guys entering the draft, they've had several years of experience.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years of experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
But I
I
don't know. I think that they might try to change it because just like I said, how fast growing the women's is, and these players are developing and being so ready. I could see them possibly maybe shortening it up. I still think the call on Cooper Flag was kind of shaky at the end, but I mean it didn't necessarily determine them winning it. It was definitely big though at the end for sure. I mean, I think they lost the game in so many other ways by letting Houston hang
exactly.
around and Houston going on some runs and playing good D and shutting Duke down in certain spurts of the game. That's where I think Duke lost the
I
game.
think they definitely would have, they would have lost anyway, but does it suck that that call happened? Yes.
Hmm.
Do I think that it's probably the right call in any other moment? Yeah. But
Yeah.
in that part of the game, like this is what we talk about all the time with the refs. When it comes down to these final minutes of the game and it's close like that, you really just got to let the players play. But
Hmm.
Duke again, says the same thing. I feel like I say this all the time. It's the same fucking story,
Yeah.
but you have to win decisively enough that one bad call doesn't determine your game.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally. And that's really what it boiled down to. I mean, Duke, they were up by double digits during the game. I mean, they could have really opened this thing up and took this thing, to ass whooping level. But like I said, Houston was consistent. They were hitting their shots and playing defense and made their runs and got back in the game and, ended up winning it at the end for sure. But no, shout out to Houston. I mean, like you said, they're a well coached team. They fought well against Florida. And basically the same thing happened to them. Houston basically did the same thing that Duke did. They controlled the game, the majority of the game. They were up by double digits at one point. They kept the lead the majority of the game. Florida only had the lead, I think, like a minute and 30 something seconds the whole game.
Right.
But obviously it was at the most important time, obviously. But it was just like, Houston had it there. You kind of thought Houston was going to take it, but then nobody could step up and hit a shot. Nobody could, putting the offense together. And Florida, you let them linger around, they're going to go on their run. They showed you time and time again during the tournament that they're a resilient team, and you can't allow them to hang around. So, I mean, shout out to them for I mean, Florida played great D as well. Everyone talks about Houston's D, but Florida definitely played great D as well. But shout out to them winning it all.
And congratulations to all four Final Four teams for one season. Congratulations to the selection committee as well, because they really did get it right this year. Does it make Madness maybe a little bit more boring? Absolutely, but it's nice that they got it right.
Yeah, no, definitely. People want to see the upsets. I was one of those people want to see the Cinderella teams and stuff like that. But usually when it's the Cinderella teams and it gets down to like the Elite Eight or the Final Four, you'll start seeing the team separation as far as the depth and the talent and all of that stuff. But it was good to see number one seeds in there because we got two good games.
We got three really good games. Florida Auburn was a fantastic game. Duke was a fantastic game. And the final was awesome. So, I mean, it's captivating. So, definitely there is something said about the best.
There was the best for last. Yeah, for sure. No, but congratulations to Florida on winning it. And, I'm sure this will help them in recruiting and everything else. But let's touch on the women's side now. You had UConn winning it all, dominating fashion over South Carolina. Paige Beckers, she went out on top like she wanted to, like she talked about years ago during her injuries and all that she's went through. But, I want to give a shout out to Sarah Strong because she is an anchor and she is definitely the future for UConn. And Gino Auriemma as well. She's got a bright future. She is a beast for sure. I mean, South Carolina couldn't do nothing with her, and
she's incredible the entire tournament. And again, that's another 18-year-old kid right there, just absolutely coming into this tournament like she's been here before. But
a freshman too.
Truly the storybook ending for Paige Beckers, as my buddy Ryan Rucco said, and I swear to you, he had to have had this written down because there's no way. He said it was the final page in the book of Beckers, and I loved that line.
That's a good.
He is so good. That's good. So shout out Ryan Rucco because incredible. I love listening to his broadcasts. Every time I hear the "you bet," I know a three happened, so I don't even have to look. But yeah, Paige was phenomenal in getting the team there. She stepped up exactly when she had to let them go on that run. That 30-40-30 run was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then she really held down as an anchor to her teammates. And, they told Sarah in the UCLA game, hey, when you get it, shoot it. You're not doing that enough. You're giving the ball. And holy crap, did she take direction. She catch shoot, and it would go in pretty much every fucking time.
Yeah.
But they
dominated UCLA. I didn't think they were going to dominate that bad against UCLA, but when I saw that, I said, "Oh man, they're winning it all. They're on a mission." for sure.
Domination. This was
Yeah,
domination. And we talk about Paige and we talk about Sarah Strong, but the MVP of the Final Four, AZ Fudd.
Easy Fudd. Yeah.
26 points in the game against South Carolina, a beast against UCLA.
Hmm.
And she's coming back for another year, so her and Sarah Strong will be together again next
Again,
year.
yeah, that's why I said that's going to be. They'll be right in the mix of things for sure next year with those two and whoever they bring in recruiting. I'm sure.
This is a
Uh,
UConn team that was so resilient. I mean, same thing we said with Florida, but in a different way. The injuries, the time that all of this took to come to fruition, right? I mean,
hmm.
Paige's sophomore year was AZ Fudd's freshman year. They did
Yeah,
not play that many games together. Almost
yeah.
immediately, AZ Fudd got injured. She injured her foot. Then by the time
Hmm.
that was done, then Paige got hurt. She tore her
Yeah, hurt tore
ACL.
ACL.
Then
Yeah.
AZ tore her ACL. I mean, and despite all of that, Paige Beckers led them to a Final Four every year that she was healthy enough to play
Hmm.
in a tournament, which is it's insane. I
Yeah.
but it was absolutely destiny, and I regret some of the decisions I made in our bracket. I told you how badly I wanted to pick UConn, and I let logic try to take that one from me. And I
Uh-huh.
said, well, the South Carolina won't get embarrassed like that again.
And man, did
Never
they.
logic it. Gut instinct. I went gut instinct on the men's bracket and I put 4 1 seeds in the final four because I just knew. And everybody
Hmm.
gave me crap for it because, oh, you just picked all the 1 seeds and obviously statistically, but it was a gut feeling.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was correct. And I wanted to, my gut said UConn and my head said South Carolina. And I went with my head on the women's bracket. And I think that just
Hmm.
says something about who we are as people. Always go with your gut. Always go with
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. I thought I didn't think it sucked it wasn't a better game. South Carolina just got the doors blown off of them. I mean, they
Again,
yeah,
again. That's
yeah.
insane. Twice in a season to blow a team out like that.
Hmm.
But
And you
I,
could
I
just see Dawn
definitely,
Staley. You could see the look on Dawn Staley's face, man. It just
she
kind of
was
said it
wiping away
all.
tears at one point, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I felt
yeah.
bad they were showing that for her, but
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
tough. That's tough to swallow, to be decimated like that and
And
embarrassed
then,
like that
yeah, yeah,
twice.
yeah, and especially in the final game, usually like you said, it's hard to beat a team twice, three times, but man, they did it effortlessly. I mean, they were just flawless in their performance. Like you said, AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong, 24 points, 15 boards. I mean, just complete domination for real.
When Paige came off the court for the final time and she
Hmm.
hugged Gino and he
Gino,
hugged her
yeah,
back, the way she just like let it
released all
all
that,
out
let it all go.
finally,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that release, oh my God, I think everybody was crying. And that's such an emotional journey for her.
Hmm.
And
She's
what a way for it to culminate. I think she's still wearing the net. I'm
yeah, probably yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's still wearing it. Every video I have seen of her, she is wearing that net around her neck, and
Yeah,
she ain't letting nobody take it from her.
yeah, no, I believe it. She probably got it on her bag or her purse if she's not wearing it
Oh,
around her
she's
neck.
wearing it. She's wearing it. She's definitely still wearing it. Every video that is around her neck. But
Yeah,
I do want
and
to
I mean, she deserves it though for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I do want to briefly talk about some of the things that I heard in the pregame uh questions, the pregame press conferences that happened.
Uh-huh.
Number one, shout out to Gino Oriema for commending all the female reporters that were at that press conference. He took a moment during the press conference to say how incredible it was that there were so many women covering women's sports and how proud he was that that's where it
Yeah.
gotten to and how proud he is of all of the female reporters that were there,
Mm-hmm.
which I just thought was such a sweet moment. And we spend so much time hyping up women's sports, and it's nice that they hype us right back up. You know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
women have covered women's sports for so long and just haven't been the ones in that room because they haven't
Yeah.
been getting those jobs.
And he's seen
Now they
obviously
are.
he's been around forever and he's seen the change in the scenery as far as women and the amount of more women involved.
And he
So
sees
yeah,
the change in the coverage, the passion in the coverage when you let women cover women.
yeah,
There's something about that that is just
hmm
so powerful, and
yeah,
we just understand it in a way. And as women's sports was rising, the female reporter is also rising. So just shout out Gino for being
yeah. Shout out to
for
Gino, man.
recognizing it and vocalizing it. That was really,
Hmm
really awesome. And
Which
then
is
on the
good.
flip
That's
side, the press conference with Dawn Staley, there was a
mhm.
lot of commotion, and I want your thoughts on this too. They asked her about Paige Beckers and if they thought that, basically if they thought that Paige Beckers deserved to win the national championship because of all she's been through. And I thought it was a weird question to ask
hmm That is kind of
the
a weird question
head
to ask.
coach
I
of
was
the
going to say
opposing
that. Yeah.
team. And people were kind of hating on Dawn's response to this, but she basically said, listen, Paige is a fantastic player. She deserves success and she's going to see it in the WNBA. I'm preparing my team for a game tomorrow to try to beat her. So to ask
Yeah.
me about that is kind of ridiculous. And also, this is
Yeah.
now the second year in a row where you're asking me about one star player on the opposing team because this happened to her last year with Caitlin Clark. Does Caitlin deserve
hmm
to win? Does Caitlin deserve to win? Her team went undefeated last year, and all the questions were about Caitlin Clark.
Clark. Yeah.
Now, this year, all the questions are about Paige Beckers and UConn. And she basically said, give my players their fair shake. Ask about
Yeah.
my players. Ask me about my
I,
team.
yeah. No, definitely.
And, it was controversial because I think that maybe there's a politer way to say that, but
hmm
I'm kind of
It's
with,
just bad timing on the reporter for them to ask that. It's just
yeah,
that's terrible timing. Like you're literally about to face these players, and you're asking them, does that player deserve to win? And based off their journey, it's like I agree with Dawn Staley on her answer. Like, hey, ask me about my team and my players. Yes, those are great players. Not taking nothing away from their success and their future success,
yeah.
but we're not trying to focus on their success. We're trying to beat them. We're trying to win. We're competitive. So don't ask me about this. This is a bad timing to ask that. That a better time to ask that would be now, after the games are over. It wouldn't be a time to ask before you're going into as you're going into that game.
Yeah,
And
and look, she kept it really classy last year, on the podium once they won. She had great comments about Caitlin
hmm
Clark and great things to say about her. And even in that press conference, I think she, was very complimentary of Paige. And it was just kind of like at that point, it's like, F you guys, like ask me about my
yeah,
team.
for real. Fuck
Like
y'all,
I've
for
got
real.
stars too, and she does. Like
Yeah.
we talk all this talk about Sarah Strong and how incredible a freshman she is. They have Joyce Edwards, who is another
hmm
incredible freshman and could
Freshman,
have
yeah.
just as much success. But South Carolina just doesn't have the star player. They're a team
hmm
of incredible players,
Yeah.
and they all have great futures ahead of them. She's got a team full of All-Americans.
Literally a
And there's
team.
something
That's
to
what I
be
was gonna
said
say.
about that. The
Literally, her whole
program that she's
team.
built, she gets to
Yeah.
the championship almost every single year that she's been, coaching.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yes, he's close
and
every year too.
and now
Yeah.
she's 3 out of 4 in national championship appearances. I mean, come on. Like there's an incredible program being built there. And you can ask her about that.
Yeah. She's already got that train started and got that baby going.
Yeah.
People
Enough
better jump on
people were talking about Paige. You didn't have to ask Dawn Staley about Paige.
about Paige. Yeah. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly, especially going into the game that they're about to play them for it all. It's just like bad timing on that reporter. But reporters do stuff like that. Reporters are dicks sometimes. They'll ask those questions at the wrong moment just to see your response or your reaction. And then, also those coaches and reporters, some of them have relationships,
Yeah.
some good, some bad. So, it's like,
It's clickbait.
yeah,
They wanted a headline. They wanted Dawn saying something about Paige. And, I honestly, yes, it got coverage, but I don't think she gave it to them. And like, good for her. I think,
Yeah.
she said great things about Paige, but she also stuck up for her team.
Yeah,
So,
no, definitely. I mean, she's a future Hall of Famer for sure. Even if she retired right now, but she's obviously still got a lot more coaching left. But yeah, no, she has a bright future. Her teams are going to be in the mix of things. The way she recruits, um, like
yeah.
I said, South Carolina's not going nowhere. So uh, yeah, no, but it was definitely bad timing on that for them to try to rile her up, and
Yeah.
I kind of didn't like how they always had the camera in her face during the game too. It's just like,
Yeah.
it was, and then I remember one part of the game, she almost got like a tech from the ref where she was like trying to talk to him, and then she just had to walk away. I think she did get a tech. I'm not sure, but she was not trying to get another tech, and so she just walked away. But I'm like, she was getting a lot of camera action for sure
Yeah,
during the
they
game.
definitely showed her a lot and they showed her upset a lot, whether
Yeah,
that was, frustration and letting that out in a little bit more of an anger frustration way or just a very sad frustration way. I mean,
yeah.
I do as an empath feel a little bit bad when
Hmm.
they put the camera on her
Yeah, yeah,
dad.
yeah.
So
No, for sure, definitely. I mean, you just didn't. I don't know. You just didn't. It didn't seem like no other game, like emphasized the coaches as much as that game. That women's game
yeah.
between Gino and Dawn. But
Well, it's two legendary coaches. I will say,
yeah,
like, that's two coaches that get a
I
lot.
mean, Gino's the GOAT. To me, there's a lot of great women's college basketball coaches that are from the past. You got your Pat Summits and, other people and stuff like that. But Gino's the GOAT, man. I mean, since '95, he's got 12 national championships.
It's
And so
incredible. It's
that's
incredible.
that's insane. So and
Yeah,
then his
and his
track record
players
speaks for
love him.
itself. Yeah,
His he builds a program and a community where his players love and respect him so much. I mean,
hmm
you think about it, Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, they got a show now on ESPN where they do
Yeah.
the Bird and Taurasi show and they cover those games. And
Uh-huh.
they always talk so highly about Gino and the program that he builds and the players that he builds and honestly, like Paige reminds me a lot of Diana in a lot of ways. She's very,
Yeah, no,
very
definitely.
hot-headed. Going back through and looking at a lot of the clips now too of like Paige's early years. There's one thing in the COVID bubble. UConn hit like a monster shot and Paige ran over and like slapped Gino on the ass and Gino turned
Oh
around
yeah, I do remember
the
that.
face he made.
Yeah, I
Very,
remember
very
that.
Diana Taurasi, very DT of Paige to do something like that. There's
Hmm.
not a lot of players that get away with things, but yeah, I've been seeing a lot of Diana footage recently because she announced her retirement,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Shout out to her too. She had
got
a
some
great
iconic
career.
moments. The
Future Hall
guts
of
to see
Famer.
it is one of my all-time favorite DT moments, and they aired it recently. They talked
Yeah.
about it on the show in the Final Four.
Hmm. No,
Diana
definitely. I
said it's her
mean,
favorite tech of all time.
yeah, no, definitely. Gino, I mean, like I said, he's a GOAT. His track record goes to show that. I mean, you look at the players he's produced through that program as well. I mean, you can go on and on and on.
Maya Moore, Sue Bird, Diana
Some
Taurasi,
Yeah,
Brianna
Brianna
Stewart.
Stewart. I mean,
It's just a
man, you
few.
could, yeah, just a few. Like, um, didn't Brianna Stewart win like four in a row?
Four in a row.
Yeah, they won four in a row.
Four in a
Crazy, right? Who does that?
row. UConn.
Yeah, literally.
For
But
so long, they were such a powerhouse. And,
yeah,
now the talent disparity between the growth of the sport and NIL, the talent
NIL, yeah,
definitely dispersed a little bit more, but he still builds, a program there that's always in the mix of it. They're always in the thick of it. And, props to them because they're going to continue to be a powerhouse.
continue, yeah, yeah, definitely. They're definitely not going nowhere as long as Gino is there for sure. But
Speaking of
definitely.
transfers, I heard, through the grapevine that it looks like Olivia Miles is going to end up at TCU, potentially with maybe one or two of her other Notre Dame teammates that entered the portal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
TCU is on their recruiting trail. I see they got Haley Van Lith last year, and now they're trying to stay in the mix of things, which is, I mean, good for them in the Big 12. I mean,
Absolutely.
uh, if they can pull that off, that would be huge moves for them
Definitely
for
not
sure.
confirmed yet, but that is what the sources are saying.
Yeah, no,
Like
definitely that would.
looks like TCU. She entered the portal on a no contact. So it did seem like she knew where she was going. So we'll see. But
Yeah, yeah.
it looks like
Hopefully we'll get
TCU
that
is
news this
maybe.
week. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, definitely. But no, shout out to the champions, UConn, and then for the men's Florida. It was great seasons. But yeah, definitely shout out to them. Houston, they'll be in the mix still, and we all know South Carolina is not going nowhere. They'll
absolutely.
be in the mix as well. But let's change the focus and talk about Colorado and the
Yes.
pro day.
Yes. So Colorado had its pro day over the weekend. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Shador and Travis Hunter were out there performing. And again, they stressed once again that, the reason that they didn't do the combine was to highlight their other players that
Yeah.
are at Colorado and to draw in more pro scouts to their pro day. So they
Mm-hmm.
did make another effort to kind of promote that about what they were doing. Uh,
Yeah.
but it got some heat online. Andre Cisco, one of the Jacksonville Jaguars,
Cornerback, I want to say.
cornerback for the
Yep.
Jacksonville Jaguars,
Uh-huh.
decided to tweet out a little message to Shador, and he said, "Boy, better stop patting that ball. We breaking on that early."
Hey, that's the talk of a cornerback for sure. I mean, uh,
Just gonna, oh my God. Like, just for 1 second though, you were on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Please look at your record last year and maybe just go watch some tape. Because if you're going to break on that early, then you should be having 8 interceptions a game. Because
hmm
every, not every, that's, too powerful of a word. Most quarterbacks pat the ball.
and
Tom
then
Brady
and then
pats the
the
ball.
thing about patting the ball is that's something that can be learned and unlearned, because
There's also this thing called an offensive line and a defensive line in between
hmm
all of those things. And so, like, if patting the ball was so telling, you would have 10 interceptions a game.
no, definitely. I mean, I kind of I kind of understand this point, but for Shador's case, is like patting the ball, like, yes, no, I get it. Like, if because those are things like defensive players pay attention to. They try to pay attention to little things in your motion. Like if you pat the ball or you got maybe a little bounce in your motion before you throw, they always are trying to like read things that you're doing before you throw so they can try to time it, It's kind of how like they try to time like your cadence count. But like I said, for Shador, like I said, patting the ball, that's something that can be unlearned. He can just unlearn not to do it.
I also
If
think
it's
if you
if
just
if
watch the tape from Colorado, he didn't really do that as much. I think
yeah, he
you're
didn't
at a
do that
pro
as
day with
much.
no defenders. You're
Exactly.
gonna act a little bit different. He didn't do this shit at Colorado, like not like this, and it
Yeah,
wasn't a
no,
comment
yeah.
until Saturday. But the other thing is like, just stop fucking forcing narratives about Shador. You're
Uh-huh.
distracting from the obvious talent that's there. Like
Yeah, no,
plenty
definitely.
of quarterbacks in the NFL pat the ball or do hitches or whatever, and it's not stopping them from being a talented NFL quarterback. So
Well, it's definitely not going to stop them for
it's just
sure. And then
nonsensical.
yeah, no, but I kind of I get where he's coming from as far as just mechanics wise and technique wise, but at the end of the day, that's something so small, that it's like I said, you can unlearn those type of things. Not knowing how to read defenses would be more of a concern for me than him patting the ball at his pro day. Because obviously no other team that he played against throughout his college career, noticed or even worried about that because he probably didn't even do it
He
during the game.
didn't.
Maybe,
Not like
maybe
that, not
yeah,
consistently like that. And
yeah. And then,
whatever.
like I said, those are techniques and mechanics are things that you can train and unlearn on. So that wouldn't, I mean, like you said, I get it's like they're trying to put a narrative out on him, and I get that, and it's bullshit for real.
There's always
But
some narrative about Shador. And like
yeah,
it's just starting to irk me at this point because like you're just denying this kid's obvious talent. And for what? Because he's Deion Sanders' son, you have to be
mm-hmm,
overly critical. And
yeah,
Dan Orlovsky on ESPN made a comment the other day that really, really stuck with me, which was if you're gonna be talking shit about the way that Shador talks, his cockiness, his this, his that, his
there's
attitude,
nothing wrong with confidence.
whatever. No, no, but not even that. He said if you're going to be doing all that while you commend Baker Mayfield for the same things, for his cockiness,
Mm-hmm.
for his attitude, for his like, his aura,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're going to critique Shador for it, maybe
Mm-hmm.
look at
Well,
why.
it's just because he's Deion Sanders' son. I like Shador better than Cam Ward. I keep hearing all this Cam
I've been
Ward
saying that for
number
months.
one, number one overall, and I think Cam Ward has some things he needs to be better at as well. I mean, granted,
I've been
this is
saying
a
it for months. I said it.
if this quarterback room for the draft is not that deep, and if he was in any other class, he would not be being talked about as the number one pick, in my mind. So, it's just like enough isn't being talked about with Cam Ward. Nobody, it just gets glazed over the fact that he didn't win none of the big games at Miami when that was he was brought in for. Miami was
Yeah.
not competitive in the ACC
And
conference
I don't know
whatsoever.
if you saw, but the Titans, they canceled the private workouts with Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. So it really does seem like they are going with Cam Ward as their number one.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't. To me, honestly, I don't think any quarterback should go number one this draft. To be honest, I mean, obviously teams need it, need a quarterback, so I can get it if you're going to go up, move up. But to be honest, I don't think the Titans should go at quarterback. You
No,
know,
you like Will Levis.
yeah, I think they need to give Will Levis a chance to go in there more. I feel like they don't give like the rope on the quarterback leash is like shorter nowadays. It's like you
I
don't
wonder
give these
if they'll
guys.
let him compete for that starting job though. Like if they bring in, a rookie quarterback, they could absolutely let Will
But
Levis.
you know how it works when they bring in a rookie quarterback. It just
Yeah,
puts a lot more pressure on you. Obviously,
maybe
which
that's
which
what
which is
Will
part
need.
of the game. Don't get me wrong, that's part of the game having pressure on you. But the minute he doesn't play it well, or he has a bad game or a bad run during the game, the fans are going to start shouting out Cam's name or whoever the quarterback is name to put him in, and they'll just try to to get these guys rushed in, and it's just like
It
let this.
could be just what Will Levis needs, though. It could be.
It
I mean,
is, and that's why I
look at
said
what
it's
the
nothing wrong
Panthers
with
did
that.
with Bryce
It's
Young.
nothing. That's why I said it's right. It's nothing wrong with that because sometimes players need that pressure. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with drafting them, but it's definitely going to put a lot more on that quarterback and that team as well because sometimes it divides the team. If the team wants to go with the rookie, and then you got half of the team wanting to go with the veteran, it's like you got to be sure that you got good guys with good mental and good leadership in those rooms because if not, it can kind of get divided. But no, 100%. The pressure is part of playing the game. You're a quarterback in the NFL, so them applying pressure to you by drafting a quarterback. That's just what it is. But I mean, I just don't think they should. I think they need to go get Travis Hunter or go get Abdul Carter. One of those pieces, and continue to draft around that. Maybe draft a quarterback in the later rounds because I just don't feel like the two guys at the top are the best in the draft, obviously, but I just don't feel like you should take that risk. I feel like they should drop down and maybe let one of the teams move up and get more collateral and draft picks. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I mean, look, all in all, just it's a quarterback needy market,
mm-hmm.
and the quarterbacks aren't necessarily as strong as they've been, but it looks
Yeah,
like that's what's going to happen. I wonder what's going to happen with Shador's stock at this point because he's all over the map. I still think that he's a very good choice, and I've always thought he's a better choice than Cam Ward, but
yeah, no, me same.
it just I'm very very interested to see what happens here in April.
Yeah, and then sometimes teams will put out bait to just kind of shoot teams away from that player too, so they can get that player. Maybe there's some team out here is maybe loving the fact that teams are shying away from Shador because they're like, yes, we want him. So yeah, shy away from and yeah. So but hey, we'll see how that goes. But I mean, the patent thing that can be learned and unlearned. I mean, like you said, that was just some clickbait, shit where
More
he just
bullshit. It's just some more bullshit. And like,
yeah,
if we're gonna look this critically at him, we should be looking this critically at Cam Ward,
Cam Ward.
or at every other quarterback that's projected to potentially go in the first round. This is all because
Hmm.
of who he is and what he's
And
done.
who's he? Who's
But
who's he the son of? Yeah,
yeah,
it's all
but
about him being Deion Sanders' son.
credit to him. He got up there in his press conferences too, and he was asked about like how he felt about going to a team and having to be the leader and work on the rebuild and this and that. And he said, look at
Hmm.
where I came from. Look at Jackson State, look at Colorado. Neither of those programs were a winning program when I got there,
Neither. Exactly.
right?
None.
So, it's something that I'm not only capable of, but like I've done before. So
Yeah.
good for
100%.
him for
Yeah.
just having the confidence and never letting that waver. Because if I were him and I was seeing all this shit in the media, like I hope that boy's got his phone turned off.
Well, yeah, no, and then like I said, he's been raised well. His dad has been in that for a very long time, so he's definitely going about things the right way. I'll shout out Dion on that. He's definitely raising his boys to be able to handle things and to make sure they always keep their confidence, in themselves and how to handle the media and everything else that comes at them. It's definitely due to him instilling in Shador, the things that he needs to have and do. And Shador's like I said, he's going about it the right way. He's handling everything right. He's not getting caught up in no bullshit, no bad news, no TMZ, nothing. So he's doing what he's supposed to do to get prepared for his professional career. But yeah, no, shout out to him. Definitely. I think he'll have a better career than Cam Ward will for sure. Definitely. But let's talk about your Cincinnati boy, Trey Hendrickson.
The
You know,
Bengals
he's
just want to keep making headlines, man. You know what? All press, I guess,
yeah,
is good press.
yeah.
They can't catch a break though, man. Like every time something good happens, you know, we get the Jamar and T contracts all done, and then you got
Hmm.
people saying, "Oh, well, you paid too much for the same fucking team," and da da da. Da. Now, it's pay them, pay them, pay them. Now you're paying them too much. Now it's all the whatever. And now all the coaches and the execs are all together, and my girl Katie Blackburn's out here talking about,
Hmm.
the different issues and the different things that are coming up in Bengal world. And she's made some interesting comments in the last 2 weeks here, week or so. One, she said that, when the contract is up, Paycor, that, the Bengals could go anywhere. They could move anywhere and they could go play anywhere and they'll be fine.
Hmm.
Interesting because I do feel like it does kind of make your fan base feel a little alienated.
Yeah.
Like, we'll move away from you, no qualms, whatever. I think it was more to
Hmm.
put pressure on the city of Cincinnati to try to get some kind of deal done. I do think that that's important to them. I don't
Yeah.
think it's as nonchalant as she made it seem, but it's almost
Hmm.
like playing hard to get. Like you're kind of like,
Yeah.
I could go anywhere. So don't worry about me as like almost a negotiation tactic. Uh,
Yeah.
but it definitely comes across not great at times.
Like,
Um,
I can see that.
the Trey Hendrickson contract, which has been, a topic of conversation even before Jamar and T, but especially now after Jamar and T.
Yeah.
And she was quoted saying that, I think he could be happy at certain rates, and maybe he doesn't think he'd be happy at. I think some of it's on him to be happy at some point, and if he's not, that's what holds it up sometimes. Uh,
Yeah.
and she continued and she said, so it takes him to say yes to something. And also, we have all the respect in the world for him. He's been a great player. We're happy to have him. So maybe we'll find a way to get something to work, and we're just going to see where it goes.
Hmm.
Again, it feels like the hard to get situation. It feels like the Bengals are just playing hard to get a little bit. Like
Yeah.
they want to be nonchalant about it.
Uh-huh.
But they did something unprecedented for them and historic for them with Jamar and T after Joe made it very, very clear that he wants them there.
Yeah.
And Trey Hendrickson was a part of that want, a part of that wish list for Joe Burrow.
Hmm.
And
As
so
he
I do
should be.
think, even though they've, allowed him to go seek a trade, but not really, and they've allowed him to explore his options, but not really,
Yeah.
and that they're in this stalemate with the contract thing, I do think some of it's the Bengals, but also some of it kind of seems like it maybe is Trey's agent is just not getting things done the way they need to be done.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like they're that far off. It's like
It
maybe Trey.
doesn't, but then at the same time, Trey went on Pat McAfee and said the
Uh-huh.
comments were definitely disappointing and that the communication has been poor.
Poor, yeah.
That he's willing to listen if they have something that they want to discuss. But I don't know. It just seems kind of like a he said, she said kind of thing, and that there's got to
No
be some
pun
kind of
intended.
yeah. There's got to be some kind of miscommunication going on between the Bengals front office and Trey Hendrickson's agent. That
It's got
appears
to be, yeah.
a problem because they've tried to get this deal done before and it hasn't happened.
Hmm.
So you got to start to wonder, like, hey, they just did it with Jamar and T. So what really is the holdup here? Because
Yeah.
I do think, to Katie Blackburn's point, like Trey is not asking to be the highest paid edge guy in the league. Like he's not
Yeah.
asking for that.
But he wants to be in the
Wants
mix.
to
He wants
be
to
in,
be around
he
somewhere
wants to be
close to
in
that.
Cincinnati, but he also wants to be paid what he's worth. And so he seems willing to be a little bit flexible in that and to find ways to be happy, but he's also not going to take it in incentives or in,
Yeah.
bullshit extra things. It's got to be,
Hmm.
hey, I got to be paid what I'm due, and I want to tell my wife that this is where we're going to live, and we're going to live here for a while, and we can start a family
Yeah.
here and have a life here,
Hmm.
and I'm going to be paid what I'm worth, but I'm also
Yeah,
being
no, definitely.
flexible to be on the team that I want to be on that I think can win.
And see, like you
And
said, the whole trade thing, him seeking a trade. I think if he really wanted to seek a trade, he could have found the trade. He could have found a team that's going to give him the numbers he wanted and been like, all right, look, this is what I found. Boom, let's make it happen.
I think I
But
think the Bengals and Trey
he
both
wants to
Trey
be
to
in
be a Bengals.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to be there. He's showing you that he wants to be there because he could have went out and found them. He could have went out and found the money for sure.
Doing interviews
But
in Bengals jerseys. Like it's he's doing stuff in Bengals gear. He's hanging out in
uh-huh.
Cincinnati. He is very prevalent in the community and like it's just he wants to be there. That's
And
super
he
cool.
even mentioned on the Pat McAfee, I did hear him mention too that, this one made me show that he wanted to be there because he said, obviously, recently retired Sam Hubbard retired. And he said Sam Hubbard was like one of the big leaders in that locker room on the defensive side of the ball. And he said, now that Sam's not there, he wants to fill that role. If
Yeah,
that doesn't say you don't want to be there, then I don't know what does, So
exactly.
he definitely wants to be there. I just think like as far as numbers wise, they're just off a little bit. Maybe they're trying to give him 28 million and he wants 30, but and that is not, I don't know. It just seems something like that to me where they're just like off and the agents they're just not getting it done. So, but
Yeah.
I think they need to work it out for sure, sign him, figure it out.
I
He
hope
wants to
I
be
hope we can
there.
figure it out.
Y'all need him there, especially with, like I said, Sam Hubbard retiring. Leadership in locker room matters. Regardless, yes, you need the talent, you need the players, but leadership and experience matters. And you need a guy like that on your defensive side when you're trying to rebuild the defense as well. If you draft a lot of young guys, you need some veteran guys there to help them along the way. And Trey is definitely one of those guys. So I think it'll help them more than it'll hurt them. But It's just this contract thing, man. I don't know, with the Bengals out, I don't know what's going on or who's not budging or what.
Like I said, they did something, very out of character for them this year, and they paid their guys. So I have faith, even though the comments look, bad on both sides. It doesn't look
Hmm.
promising, but I'm gonna choose to have the faith and
And
um
yeah, they'll get it worked out.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully they'll get it. Even it might even be during the season. Who knows? But they'll get it worked out. They'll figure out something.
I hope it doesn't come to that, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I
Uh,
hope it doesn't either. I hope they get it done before camp. Speaking of the Bengals, I heard about Mike Florio. He made this like ridiculous claim, right? That because the Bengals stadium contract is coming up. So he made like this ridiculous claim that the Chicago Bears and the Cincinnati Bengals could possibly team up in the same city of Chicago, team up in Chicago to make a stadium where they have two teams in the same city. So basically move Cincinnati to Chicago and have two teams in Chicago. It doesn't that's ridiculous, right? But Mike Florio really
Ridiculous.
literally reported that. There's no
Absolutely
claims
ridiculous.
behind it. There's no claims behind it. There's no talk about it. Nobody else has talked about it. Nothing. He just literally put it out there that
I've heard
Chicago was looking for a second NFL team and possibly could be the Bengals.
I've
And
heard
they'll build a new stadium. I'm like, what? That sounds ridiculous.
Oh, that's crazy. I've heard Columbus potentially.
Oh, I would like that.
I've heard San Diego as a possible landing location for them. I've heard it's all over the map. And again,
Yeah,
they're going to prioritize staying in downtown Cincinnati. Listen,
they're not. Yeah, they're not going
from New
nowhere.
York, like the idea of getting to MetLife Stadium for me is like it's a 2 hour ordeal to get to
Yeah.
MetLife, to get
Hmm.
anywhere outside of New York City. There's nowhere, for those guys to play for the Jets and the Giants other than that, but it's tough. It's not an easy spot to get to. The fact
Yeah.
that Paycor, Paul Brown Stadium, whatever you want to call it, the fact that the Bengals
Hmm.
Stadium is right downtown and so
Right
accessible,
downtown. Yeah.
so
It's right off the
accessible,
freeway.
so in the heart of things. It's right there with Red Stadium. They literally there's just like a walk of bars in between, bars
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
restaurants between the two stadiums. It's so
Hmm.
community feeling, and it's
Yeah.
so like it seems, so easy to get to and
Uh-huh.
so
It's right
ingrained,
off 71.
right, so ingrained in the part of the city and in the heart of the community. And,
Hmm.
I love the location of it. And I think that there is a value placed on being downtown. So
Yeah.
I don't know that they're going to want to move to a suburb of Cincinnati. I don't know that
It
they're going to,
wouldn't make sense
I don't
for
think they're
them
going
to
to move
do
to
that.
Columbus. I don't think they're going to go to San Diego. I don't think they're going to go to
Yeah,
Chicago.
no, me either. I don't
I
think
think
they're
they're going
going
to
anywhere
prioritize
either. I
making that
mean,
deal happen.
it's too strong of a fan base. I mean, I know the Cleveland Browns team moved to Baltimore back in the 90s and all of that, but I don't think the Bengals will be moving. I mean, like you stated, the stadium's in a great spot right there in the city. It's literally right there on the borderline of Ohio and Kentucky. So you got a lot of Kentucky people that are Bengals fans as well that are going to have something to say about that as well. But the whole moving the stadium and them moving, I don't buy it. I don't see it happening. Um, I don't see how it would be logical. Well, I'm not gonna say I don't see how it'd be logical, but I don't see how it'd be logical for the Bengals to do that, and especially not move to Chicago with the Bears and create two teams in Chicago because they saying Chicago has the market for two NFL teams. It's like, yes, that's probably true. They probably do, but does it make sense? No, it doesn't.
I just think at the end of the day, if you move anywhere outside of the area, like, could they potentially move to a suburb of Cincinnati? Sure. Sure.
I
Possibly.
don't. I don't. It wouldn't make sense though.
But
Suburb of
it'd make more sense than going to
Then going to
Chicago
another city.
or San
Yes, 100%.
Diego or any of the other
Yes,
cities that I've seen.
I agree. And
It
they
makes
just built the indoor facility down there in Cincinnati too. You can see that off the highway as well.
so,
Um,
I don't I think it's going to be a priority to stay there, but if you do
yeah,
anything
same.
if you do anything other than stay in Ohio, you alienate a huge market of your fan base and all of your,
100%.
all the
Yeah.
people that come to your
Those
game.
fans aren't transferring with you.
They're not
If you go to
moving.
Chicago or San Diego, it's not going to happen. You're not going to have the same fans, you
No.
know.
So then you
So
got to
no,
work on not only, being in a new city, but also building a new fan base. And then
yeah, it's basically like being an expansion team. You're
somehow trying to
basically
keep your old fan base and like there's
hmm
just a lot. It's a lot of investments there,
yeah.
which is just like, I don't I
And,
just I
and
see that
San
being
Diego
a lot
used to
more.
have a team there. You know, it's like there's a lot of Chargers fans there still in San Diego. You
Yeah,
know,
it's a lot more expensive to start over
now
something new than to just.
now if it was a city, only way I can see it being somewhat possible, and as far as fans go, if it was a city that doesn't have a team, so you're kind of bringing them a team, so that whole city probably is going to embrace having an NFL team. I could get that, but like going to St. Louis or places where teams have already been before and they already have like a big group of fan base already there, I don't think that would work out at all. But I don't see them moving either, though. I just don't see that happening.
Oh,
Maybe, like you said, the farthest it'll go is maybe building a new stadium, somewhere like you said, in the outskirts of the city. But I wouldn't recommend that either. I mean, right where they're at, it's a good spot. I mean, you know that. I mean, that's where we met each other was at the Bengals stadium. So yeah, it's a great spot. It's a great attraction to the city as well. You know, when you're coming into the city, you kind of see the Reds, and then you see Paycor Stadium right there. It's huge.
yeah,
So,
I
but
I actually flew over it in a helicopter. And
oh yeah,
it's pretty spectacular. Like the
yeah,
view
yeah.
on the river with
Mm-hmm.
Paycor and the Great American Ballpark as well.
Ballpark, yeah.
Just kind of both of them with the lights shining on and the
Uh huh.
city overlooking the city.
Yep.
It's beautiful. And
Yeah.
never did I think I'd say that as a New Yorker that I would say that about a city in Ohio. But
It's
it is.
people from that is not from Ohio don't know that there's cities out here. They'd be like, "What's in Ohio?" They think it's
Yeah.
like farmland, all farmland. There's a lot of farmland out here, but they think it's just like all farmland. I'm like, no, it's like real city shit out here. You got
Yeah.
big cities out here.
And Cincinnati has done a really, really great job of cleaning up everything. There's a lot of new buildings being built or rebuilt.
Hmm.
There's been a lot of work done on it. And, as someone from New York who sees
Yeah.
my fair share of homeless people out on the streets and things like that,
Uh huh.
I have not seen one in Cincinnati. The whole
Yeah.
all winter while I'd been making trips out there. I haven't seen anybody. I ran along the river, um,
Uh huh.
and there's parks and swings and whatever, and in New York you'd just be seeing people sleeping on them, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
very, very clean, really impressive, and I do think that, the Bengals should make it a priority to stay.
Definitely. I don't think they're even going anywhere. I think they'll work out that contract or redo the contract or whatever. But as far as planning on moving and leaving, I just don't see that as being a thing for real. I don't know where Mike Florio came up with that crazy concoction of something of assumptions, but moving to Chicago, Bears fans ain't going for that. They don't want the Bengals moving to Chicago.
Whole thing
You
just doesn't
know,
make sense. But
yeah, yeah, no, no, definitely.
speaking of things that don't make sense, this tush push ban.
Oh man,
Tell me what's going on now, because I know that there's a little bit more happening there.
you know, it doesn't. A lot of stuff doesn't bother me, right? But this bothers the hell out of me. This whole tush push thing.
It got pushed
I,
off though. They're gonna
yeah,
revisit.
it got pushed off because they need 24 votes, and they only got 16. They only ended up getting 16 votes.
It is
Um,
crazy. That's 50% of the league.
exactly. So it's just like, And out of some of the coaches, well, no, Adam Schefter stated that he felt like a lot of the teams were just on for banning it just out of pure jealousy and pettiness. You know, the fact that they can't stop it. Um, which I agree because there's really no other reason. I mean, all the reasons everyone tries to say are there's no facts behind it. They try to say it's injury prone. There's not no injuries. That you can look up all the tush pushes, and there's never been no injuries in the tush push, offense or defense, where anyone has gotten significantly hurt and had to miss time or come off the field for anything. It's never happened, you know. And then they just don't like it because of the play. They say, "Oh, well, it's a rugby type play."
Yeah.
It might be a rugby type play, but it's under the NFL guidelines and rules, so it's a play. You might not like it, but And then I heard somebody say, "Well, it's predictable." Well, yeah, obviously it's predictable. If it's 4th and 1, we know how to get 1 yard, so we're going to run the play where we can guarantee get it 1 yard.
Yep.
I mean, that's being logical. It's like if this fuel is going to help me get farther per mileage than this fuel, why wouldn't I not use this fuel? It's like, why wouldn't I not use it? We have it to use it, but we're just not going to use it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
but yeah, to me, like I said, it's just petty, and like I said, it all starts. I always go back to Green Bay, man, and the president, because Mark Murphy, because he's the one who started this whole thing, and I meant to send you that video. I will send it to you of Jordan Love.
Yeah, trying
Um,
to do it.
yeah, trying to do it and failed miserably. Um, I'm gonna send that to you, but it's just like, why are y'all trying to ban it? Because we use it against y'all in the playoffs. It's like you're bitter.
It is.
And
It does. It totally comes across as bitter, and you know, I'm all for petty jealousy at certain times, but like this is just taking it to a new level. I don't know who's the bigger hater, Green Bay or Kendrick Lamar.
he said of Kendrick Lamar, but no, I would say it's Green Bay because they're definitely hating to where they like I said, and other teams too, like Sean McVay, the Rams. He felt some type of way. I mean, these are all the teams that we beat in the playoffs too.
You
Noted,
just beat. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. So it's just like, they're like, yeah, we need to stop that, and all this, but it's just like, but I think eventually they're going to try to get it banned. I think they pushed it back, but I think they're going to do another vote. Unfortunately, I think they are going to eventually try to get this banned. But shout out to Jalen Hurts, man, because he seems to be the only quarterback. Him and Josh Allen. Josh Allen does it well too. Buffalo's offensive line isn't as strong as Philly's line, so maybe their percentages are not as high. But
They also do
Josh Allen,
they do it a little bit differently. They lean a
yeah,
lot
they do, they do.
on Josh.
They
Yeah.
they lean a lot more on Josh for sure. Definitely, they do it a lot more differently for sure. I mean, Josh Allen's like 240, 250 too. So Jalen's not.
There are ways to accomplish this tush push that are
Hmm.
slightly different and not necessarily all in the same way. So this is why it's actually kind of crazy to even suggest banning, because what exactly are you banning, and will you find a way around it?
Yeah, it's like they're literally just trying to ban the play from the game, and it's just like, why? When you can do it as well, like
Right, but
you
if they
know.
ban this tush push, is that going to stop the Bills from doing it, or is that a different play?
I think that's a different play.
So then you're not even stopping the Bills version of the tush push. You're just going out against the Eagles.
Eagles, yeah, uh-huh. That's literally to me. That's literally what it is because it's just the Eagles just got the guys behind them and pushing them in. I mean that's normal for football. Guys do that all the time. In a game in '05, my college football fans who they'll remember this game. Back when Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart was there, they played Notre Dame at the end of the year. Notre Dame was winning. USC drove down. They were on the 1 yard line trying to score. Matt Leinart goes for a quarterback sneak, and Reggie Bush helps him, just pushes him right in to the end zone for USC to win that game and to go to the national championship. Uh, it's just part of the game. I mean, players are going to help push their guys in. Linemen are no different from a running back getting the ball and getting stopped in the pile, and the linemen come and help push them forward, to get more momentum on the yards. It's part of the game, but just because teams can't stop it, they're being petty and just feel some type of way. But they got 16 votes. They need 24, so they need 8 more. Will they get the 8 more? Who knows? Hopefully not, but hey, it seems like when every team that's won this year, they're trying to take something from. So, Ohio State won the national championship. They bought the copyrights for the word "the," and they're trying to take the copyrights back from them, apparently, from what I heard. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, damn, when you win, they're trying to just take stuff from you, I guess.
I think people are just haters, like honestly,
Definitely.
just in general, and the culture of the internet and being online now just allows
Hmm.
people to hate from a place of like anonymity in a different
Yeah.
way than in the past. And so now anytime anyone has any kind of success, it's just like, how can we bring them down? And
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
sucks. I mean, it just sucks. And, uh, you know, that's the gist of it, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely sucks for sure. Um, I just hope that it doesn't get banned, but if I had to predict, I would think it probably will. They're going to try to do something. NFL,
There'll eventually be something about it,
yeah,
especially if it
yeah,
continues next year, and the Eagles continue to have success with it. I
yeah.
think that something will ultimately happen. But you know what doesn't suck?
What's that?
Hockey. Hockey doesn't suck.
No, it
Hockey's
doesn't.
fun.
Yeah, no, yeah, and yeah, definitely. Before we get out here, we're going to touch on the boy Alex Ovechkin. He broke Wayne Gretzky's record for the most goals with 895. Um, I think he was playing the New York Islanders when he got that done. So congrats to him. I mean, he's had a long,
The
let's see,
Rangers. He was playing with the Rangers.
no, he was playing against the Rangers.
Ovechkin. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My fault. No, I was talking about Ovechkin playing against the Islanders. I want to think it was when he got the goal, but I'm not sure. I think it was the Islanders, but no, like I said, shout out to him. He's had a long career with the Capitals. You
20
know,
seasons. It was very fitting. It was kind of a coincidence. He broke the record in the same number of games and
same number of games. Yeah.
as Wayne Gretzky. So it
Hmm.
was 1,487 games, 20 seasons.
Yeah, yeah, which is crazy to think that
Just
it is.
so coincidental that it's the
Yeah, it's
same
like,
number of games. So, a lot of times people argue things like, oh, well, he had more seasons to do it and this and that and whatever, just by fitting coincidence.
yeah,
There's
uh-huh.
no argument.
Yeah, same amount of
895,
games. Yeah,
1487 games, 20 seasons by one goal.
by one goal. Yeah, and I'm sure he'll have a couple more before it's over. But no, definitely shout out to him. He's got the goals. I don't think he'll ever get the points. Goal of the points record. Gretzky's kind of up there, and that'll be a little bit more harder. But no, definitely getting the goals record is a huge accomplishment. I mean, it's been held since like the '90s,
Yeah.
so nobody's even came close to it. But no, shout out Ovechkin, man. A couple players you thought maybe would have got close to it was like Crosby when he first came in, stuff like that, or sometimes the new guy too, Connor McDavid. They're talking about him possibly being able to break the points record and the goal record, but we'll see. He's got a long way to go, but
What a happy time to be a fan of Washington sports. You got
yeah.
Jake Daniels coming in, the Commanders' resurgence.
Hmm.
Yeah, you got Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's records.
Yeah.
It's a fun time in
Yeah,
Washington
definitely.
now.
Except for the Wizards, they still got to get them on track. But Wizards, one thing I will say about the Wizards though, their fans show up. Like over there in that DMV area, basketball is huge over there. It's like they always show up for sure. But
And the
No,
Mystics are losing Elena Deladon, which kind of sucks. I mean, congratulations to her on her retirement, but that's going to be
yeah,
tough for them as an NBA, a WNBA
yeah,
team.
no, for sure. Yeah, no, she definitely was one of my favorites. She is a beast for sure. I
Yeah,
like her. Yeah,
she's done
definitely.
so much for the sport. So
Yeah, but no, definitely. We wanted to give a shout out to Alex Ovechkin for getting the goals record. Before we get out of here, I'm not sure how the Capitals are doing as far as the playoffs, but I'm sure they'll be in the mix. But shout out to him and getting that goals record, definitely for sure. Do you got anything else for the people before we get out of here?
I don't think so. I just continue to promote the women's sports aspect. The
Yes.
championship game definitely lost viewership, was down viewership from last year, obviously because it was not Caitlin Clark's year, but
Yeah, yeah.
just continue to watch this game. We've got the draft coming up, in a couple
Uh-huh.
of days here. So,
Yeah, in a few weeks, yeah.
no, in a few days.
Oh,
It's
you talking about the
this
WNBA?
weekend. WNBA draft
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah, yeah,
weekend,
yeah.
and gonna be another great year. You've got obviously Paige Becker's going number one,
I'm
and
curious to see that draft too. I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm curious to see where
there
players
should be
go.
4 or 5 powerhouse teams in the W. When you look at it, when you break it down,
Hmm.
Dallas with Enrique and Paige is gonna have potentially have a lot of success. The Fever with Caitlin Clark, the Liberty and the Lynx are obviously both pretty much back in full force, and
Yeah, yeah.
they're gonna dominate. And then Cameron Brink should be back in
From injury,
LA
yeah.
injury. And
Uh-huh.
has made some pickups with Kelsey Plum. So there's a lot of potential for some really, really phenomenal games with great players who we all love. Um, and the Angel Reese rivalry obviously is still there. So a
Hmm.
lot of televised games this year. I think Caitlin Clark's gonna have more televised games than like the Knicks and the Nets, the Celtics. She's got like 41 televised games this year with the Fever,
Yeah.
or nationally televised games, I should say. So
Hmm.
absolutely incredible. Let's continue to keep watching women's
Yeah,
sports.
continue to grow the sport for sure, definitely. And I'm sure all the women and everyone who supports women's sports appreciates you because you're definitely, I would say, an ambassador of the women's sports for sure. You definitely opened my eyes a lot more to the sport too. I mean, I definitely paid attention to it beforehand, but you kind of gave me a more in-depth look in. So, definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the draft.
They need
Uh,
our eyes. They need our eyes because we renegotiate our CBA this year. So definitely need eyes
get
on the
that
sport.
big money. Get that big money. Get them girls that money for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. Uh, but no, yeah, I'm looking forward to the NFL draft. Just to see how things go. I just feel like in the next couple of weeks or so there'll be some more trades or it'll be something
Yeah.
pop up news. It always is around draft time. I'm looking forward to that in the upcoming weeks. But no, definitely. We got to get up out of here. So we appreciate you guys supporting us on the He Said She Said Sports Talk podcast. Again, we are your hosts. I'm Big Red. This is Tony. We thank you guys. And again, we'll be back next week. And as always, it is love and peace.